John took a math test and got 35 correct and 10 incorrect answers. What was the percentage of correct answers? Give your answer up to one decimal place. So before we move on to solving this question, let's just gather all the data down here so that we have a clear picture of what is actually happening. So we have 35 correct answers and we have 10 incorrect answers. So 35 correct and 10 incorrect answers. And assuming the fact that John did not skip any of the questions given on the test, we know that the total then has to be 45 questions. So we have a total of 45 questions. Now with this piece of information, let's see how close can we get to our answer. Now this question again is very similar to the ones that we have learned how to solve in an earlier assessment. The only difference is that we're not given a percentage this time around. The percentage is what we're supposed to find, but we're given the amount that that percentage adds or amounts up to. So let's make an expression that is going to help us get an even clear picture of this scenario. So let's suppose that the percentage of the correct answers for now is X% and the total number of questions that John solved is 45. Now X% of 45, which means if we multiply the percentage of correct answers by the total number of questions on the test, what we get is 35. This is what is told to us. 35 is the number of the correct answers that John had on his test. So if we multiply 45 by X%, what we get is 35. Now X% can also be written down as X over 100, since percentage is technically the same thing as a fraction. The only difference is that in this fraction the denominator is always 100. So X over 100, and then we can replace this off with a multiplication sign. So X over 100 multiplied by 45 gives us 35. So let's solve for X and see what we get as an answer. So this is our second step and our final step. X over 100, I'll write this down again, multiplied by 45 is 35. Now if I multiply both of these, what I get is 45x over 100 equals to 35. Now since there is this equals to sign in between, I can cross multiply on both sides, and what I would be left with is 45x equals to 35 multiplied by 100, which is 45x equals to 3500. Now since both of these, the 45 and this x, the variable right here, are being multiplied, if I shift 45 to the other side of the equals to sign, 45 is going to be divided by 3500. So 35 over 45 is what we get. Now let's solve for x. I recommend that you use your calculator so that our answer is as accurate as possible. And 3500 divided by 45 gives us 77.77. And there are a couple of sevens and then it ends with 8. Now since the question wants us to give an answer up to one decimal place, we can round it off to x equals to 77.8, and since we're dealing with percentages, let's not forget the percent sign. So x is 77.8%, which is the percentage of the correct answers that John had.